Powered by the Montana Television Network. This is the 5:30 News on Q2, Montana's news leader.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining us on your Monday. I'm Jeanelle Slade. COVID-19 has claimed 2 more lives here in Montana. This as tonight we take a closer look at this virus that's grown from 1 to nearly 200 confirmed cases in just 2.5 weeks. And that number does not appear to be slowing down. We'll have more on that in just a moment. But first, some breaking news. Governor Steve Bullock has issued a new order. Travelers arriving to Montana from another state or country must undergo a 14-day self-quarantine. Now, Bullock says the directive applies both to Montana residents and non-residents entering the state for non-work related purposes. Healthcare workers are excluded from this order. In addition, the directive authorizes the Montana National Guard to conduct temperature checks at Montana airports and rail stations and screen for potential exposure. You can find the latest on that breaking news story right now at KTVQ.com. Well, the death toll here in Montana this evening is up to at least 4 victims. The latest 2 deaths out of Toole County along the High Line. The latest confirmed cases this afternoon moving to 177. That's a jump of 16 overnight. More than 4,400 people have been tested, but health officials expect that number to grow significantly. Gallatin County added at least 7 new cases, growing the total there to 69, the most in the state by far. Yellowstone County adds 2 more cases this afternoon for a total of 28. Well, COVID-19 has reached rural Montana and it's wreaking havoc. Toole County Health Department leaders confirmed 2 more deaths related to the coronavirus.
It knows no limitations, no age, no gender, no race. That is why it's good morning. My name is Blair Thompson.
We're learning more about one of the Toole County victims tonight. A family member told MTN News 79-year-old Bev Rogers passed away at a facility in Cutbank on Saturday. Now, the relative says Rogers contracted the virus last week and had health issues in past years. Relatives went on to say how much Bev loved her family and that she had a sense of humor right up to the end. Now, the Rogers family also wanted to share a message with the public. It says, do not let this virus become so real to your families before you take it seriously. Follow social distancing. We weren't and still aren't able to get together at a time when that's the only thing we want to do. Well, Governor Steve Bullock's administration is aware of the concerns regarding impacts at the senior community in Toole County and has been working to deploy additional resources to the healthcare system there. Bullock issued a statement regarding the latest deaths, saying the news was a heartbreaking reminder to continue doing what we can to slow the spread. He went on to say that Montanans from every corner of the state are keeping the families of these patients in their hearts. Again, this brings the death toll here in Montana to at least 4 tonight. Well, as President Trump suggests the lack of test kits for COVID-19 is no longer a problem, Governor Steve Bullock is speaking up. The New York Times reports that today, during a governor's call with President Trump, many of the governors, including Bullock, disagreed. In an audio recording obtained by the Times, Bullock said officials here have been attempting to do contract tracing, but are struggling because we don't have the adequate tests. Bullock also quoted as saying, literally, we are 1 day away. If we don't get test kits from the CDC, we won't be able to do testing in Montana. In the massive relief package approved by Congress over the weekend, Montana state and local governments will get a $1.25 billion pot of money to spend. But it's not entirely clear yet on how or on what that money can be spent. Montana legislative leaders will hold a conference call tomorrow to discuss that and other issues stemming from the coronavirus fallout. Democratic leaders say today it appears Governor Steve Bullock and local governments have the authority to spend the money without state legislative approval. Democratic House Minority Leader Casey Schreiner of Great Falls also says the legislature should not needlessly slow down the process of getting that money where it's needed. Majority Republican leaders had some words of caution, however. House Speaker Greg Hertz of Polson says he believes the cash must be used for COVID-19 related expenses only and not just to replace lost revenue. Senate President Scott Sales of Bozeman says he wants the Democratic governor and others to act within their proper authority.
That's something that we need to get to the bottom of, is how much latitude the governor has in order to utilize these funds, and also how much latitude we want to give the governor if we even have the ability to do that without going into a special session. You know, that's a lot of money, and I think the legislature needs to be involved in the decision making on where it's spent and how.
Of course, we will be following this story and the details. Now, the election deciding the fate of the Billings School District's $1.6 million elementary school levy may be pushed back 2 months to July 7th. That information learned late last week. Q2's Mitch Legge joins us now from home with all the details. Mitch.
Well, Jeanelle, in order to protect election staff and volunteers, county elections officials have proposed moving the school election to July 7th instead of May 5th. Now, an issue on that ballot for Billings voters, they will decide whether or not to approve $1.7 million in elementary school mill levy money. The possible postponement is scheduled for discussion by trustees of the Billings School Board in its Monday meeting happening right now. The final announcement on whether Election Day will be changed will be released on Friday. The Billings Elementary School budget is expected to have a $3.4 million shortfall in the 2020-2021 school year. The recommendation to postpone was made to provide social distancing during the short turnaround in when school election ballots need to be certified, then stuffed into envelopes to deliver to voters.
When the governor declares a state of an emergency, the superintendent of schools has the option to cancel the election, then it can be rescheduled. The close of basically candidate certification to when you have to get ballots out is so narrow that it's a scramble to put absentee packets together in normal circumstances. And now when you add in a COVID outbreak and required social spacing at the workplace, it just leaves us in an untenable situation.
Rutherford said this is the first time he's seen an election proposed to be postponed due to an emergency declaration. Jeanelle?
All right, thanks so much, Mitch. And Mitch will be, of course, watching the school board meeting to bring us the very latest tonight at 10 o'clock. Well, the city of Billings also announces changes in its service and hours of operation. Effective immediately this morning, City Hall operates Tuesday and Wednesday, 7 a.m. to noon. Vulnerable populations are asked to come from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. The police department front window services will be offered Tuesday and Wednesday, 7 a.m. to noon, and all fire stations and the City County 911 Dispatch Center remain closed to the public. Municipal courts will continue to operate as scheduled, but there are safety rules in place. And Costco shoppers, listen up. The store announced new hours starting today. During the week, the store will close at 6:30 in the evening, 2 hours earlier than usual. The gas station will close at 7. On the weekends, hours will stay the same as always from 9:30 a.m. to 6 p.m. And it's time now to check in with Q2 meteorologist Ed McIntosh. And you have some good news and a little bit of bad news, too.
It kind of depends on what kind of weather you like.
Right.
We got something for everybody. Let's start off with the temperatures from today. We ended up with a lot of 60s, 62 unofficially for a high in Billings and Sheridan, 65 in Miles City and Dickinson, all the way up to Williston, North Dakota. A little bit cooler over to the western portion of the state, but that's where we're already starting to see showers move into the region. That will continue with areas of rain and snow. That will continue to punch through. Now tomorrow we'll start to see a downshift in the temperatures, more readings into the 40s, but by the time we start getting into the middle of the week, we may struggle to even get out of the 20s with areas of snow. We'll take a closer look at all those details coming up in a few minutes, so stick around.
Thanks, Ed. Well, Kampgrounds of America, based here in Billings, is also dealing with a COVID-19 outbreak on the front lines. Not only has the virus forced the company's Billings headquarters into work-from-home operations, but KOA's network of campgrounds nationwide are front and center as the country fights back against this virus. Q2's Jay Cohn joins us tonight with more on how KOA is adjusting as the entire country deals with the outbreak.
Well, that's right. Toby O'Rourke, the president and CEO of Kampgrounds of America, went to her company's website to explain how her company is dealing with this COVID-19 situation as it evolves on a day-to-day basis. First, as far as business is concerned, O'Rourke says KOA Campgrounds, their network across the country, has seen 44,000 cancellations in the month of March and April. Her message, the national system of KOA Campgrounds, is essential to helping the country get through these tough times.
Campgrounds are an essential business in that they service not only short-term and long-term RVers, but we also host traveling medical workers and nurses and utility workers, which are becoming more and more important at this time. Our campgrounds have stores that serve the communities, and we often sell fuel and propane. We know there's a large number of people that full-time RV. We want to make sure nobody is displaced, so we're working to ensure that campgrounds are kept open and accessible at this time.
Now, across the country, KOA is dealing with 21 states that have shelter-in-place or stay-at-home orders now in effect. Another 15 states, she says, have a myriad of local and county closures. But for the most part, O'Rourke says KOA is open for business, ready to do its part in the national recovery.
Once we can get through this, camping is going to be essential for the recovery of the nation. At KOA, our mission is connecting people to the outdoors and to each other. And those are the two things right now that people are craving the most connection to. Coronavirus is changing our lives now, but what it can't change is that camping is timeless and treasured by millions of North Americans.
So O'Rourke's message again is once we get through this very difficult time, Americans are definitely going to be ready to go camping, traveling, and visit their favorite vacation spots. So whenever this upcoming travel season gets off and running, it very well could be one for the record books. Let's hope so. Guys, that's it from the home office today. Back to you.
All right, thanks so much, Jay. In other news tonight, a Wyoming man was arrested in Bighorn County, Montana late last night, accused of killing 3 people. According to the Sheridan County Sheriff's Office in Wyoming, the man contacted his family, telling them he had killed someone. When police arrived at his home in Bighorn, Wyoming, they found 3 people dead. Well, tonight at 9 on the CW, we'll bring you an extra half hour of local news. You can catch the MTN 9 o'clock news on the CW. That's 2.2 off air and 511 on Charter Cable. But first, on tonight's 5:30 news, how you can help local small businesses make it through this challenging time with We're Open. And if you're needing a little dose of cats and grizz, Scott has you covered in sports.
You're watching MTN News with Jeanelle Slade and Russ Riesinger. Storm Tracker weather with Bob McGuire. And sports with Scott Green. This is the 5:30 news on Q2, Montana's news leader.